Well, hello, welcome to DIY Design by CCW, and thank you so much for clicking on my video. Well, today I'll be doing a DIY for you, and I hope you like how it turns out. Now, one of my favorite things to do is to make over glass, and I'll be doing that today. I have these Dollar Tree storage containers, as well as a couple of thrifted containers, such as this large container and also this little soap container that I found. And I'm hoping to make this look like a set, and I'm thinking that the lines in these pieces will help me pull it together. Now, of course, I'll be doing some painting. I'll start with this champagne color made by Folk Art. It's a treasure gold paint, a brilliant metallic acrylic paint that I've worked with before, and I'll be using a gold accent on these pieces. Now, I may use this multi-surface paint, or I may work with this Folk Art metallic paint in pure gold, and I may even use another treasure gold paint as well. Now, I've also picked up some pieces that I found on clearance at JoAnn Fabrics, these beautiful gold tone brooches, as well as some crystals, and I may even use this gold chain 2mm gold chain wrap, as well as this beautiful ribbon made by Wayla that I picked up at JoAnn Fabrics as well. Now, of course, I'll be creating a decorative tray to pull this set together as well. And again, I hope you like how everything turns out. Now, the first thing that I always do to make sure that my paint adheres is I go ahead and clean these pieces with alcohol. I'll do that off camera, and then we're going to jump right into today's DIY. So again, after cleaning the pieces, I'll begin painting. Now, I'm going to start with the first coat of this champagne paint. Again, it's a beautiful, beautiful color, and I've worked with it more than once, and I always like how it turns out. Now, I always try to make sure that I mix the paint very well. So you can see that I poured a little paint out into a disposable cup, and I gave the paint a good stirring with a plastic spoon. That way I can make sure that my color is uniform. Now, here you can see I'm beginning to paint. Now, I ended up doing, I believe, 3 coats in all to get this paint to look exactly like I wanted. But I will tell you, if you're new to the channel, you haven't heard this, if you follow me, then of course you've heard me say this a ton of times. Make sure that you apply the paint evenly. Don't overload the paint. You're going to have to let these coats of paint dry at least an hour or more in between until you get the coverage that you want. You want to use a brush that is rated for acrylic rather, and you also want to keep your brush strokes even and going in the same direction as much as possible. Now, I want to give a shout out to one of my dearest friends and followers. Her name is Queen, and her art teacher told her years ago about how to paint and to make sure that the paint strokes are always going in the same direction and keeping everything even. And she shared that with me, maybe 4 years ago when I first started the channel, and I never forgot it. So it's really helped me. So I wanted to make sure that I share that with you. And also, Queen, if you're watching, I love you, girl. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and finish the other pieces. Again, following the same pattern, just making sure that each coat is put on even. I don't want to overload the paint, and I want to make sure that each coat dries completely before I apply the second coat. So I'll continue the painting. Let you watch me do the painting, and I'll come back here in a little bit when we start the second part of the painting process. Now, one thing I always like to share is how I keep my paint brushes moist in between coats. That way I'm not having to rinse them and start over. And that's what I was just showing you there, that I keep my paint brushes in a plastic bag along with the paint so that I can use it. And as long as it's not going to be more than an hour or so in between coats, then that does work out. Okay, so now I'm back here. I have applied 3 coats of paint to each of the pieces, and now I'm going to start applying my second color, because these pieces are going to be two-tone. And I ended up using a paint I didn't show you at the beginning. It's called Mayan Gold, and it's also a treasure gold paint. And the reason I'm starting with this is the metallic paint that I want to use, which has that more of that pure gold tone that I'm looking for, is really translucent, even more so than the treasure gold paints, which typically take a couple of coats. So I'm going to start with this Mayan Gold and basically add it to all the areas that I wanted to add my accent color. And that will be the tops and the bottoms of each piece. I want to make sure that when you turn the piece over, it looks just as nice on the bottom as it does on the top. And then once I do that, I'll apply a couple coats of this Mayan Gold. And then once that paint dries, I'll come back and add a coat of the pure gold metallic paint to really give the gold a pop, which I'm hoping will give the pieces the look that I want. So, okay, I'll stop talking for a little bit and I'll be back when we get to another part of the painting process. Okay, so now I'm going to add another little pop of gold here, and I'm going with, for my final coat, this metallic pure gold is the paint I ended up choosing. I think it's going to give the gold just the right pop that I'm looking for to contrast with a beautiful champagne color paint that, although it has hints of gold in it, when you pair it with gold, it almost looks more like an antique silver. But again, really just pretty, I'm thinking at least, and I hope you like it too. And you'll see that I'll really thoroughly coat the tops as well as the bottoms of each piece with this gold. I'll even go inside of the lids a little bit just so that everything looks uniform. And then of course, once everything dries, I'll flip it over and also use the same gold to put that final coat on the bottoms of all the pieces so that everything looks really uniform. So, all right, guys, I'll stop talking for a little bit and I'll come back when we get to another part of the DIY. All right, so now that all my painting is done, I'm going to seal the paint with this Folk Arts Select Seal, and this is gloss that I'm using. You can also buy it in satin as well as a matte finish. Now, I found that the best way to do it is to pour a little bit out and apply it with a sponge applicator. It does come with a sprayer. I wouldn't advise doing the sprayer because every time I've done that, it's gotten, there have been little streaks that you could see after it was dry. But I have found that if you use the sponge applicators, everything will dry beautifully and be streak free. Basically, you just want to coat all the painted surfaces lightly, let them dry. Now, if you're really looking to weatherproof the pieces, you think you're going to put these pieces outside, you may want to do 2 coats, but I have found that 1 coat is sufficient, and it really helps my pieces last. They're durable. I don't have to worry about any paint peeling off if I want to use them in a bathroom or wherever it is that I want to use them, and you can wash them, of course, once you've sealed them this way. Now, when I first started doing this, I didn't seal my paint. So when you go back and watch some of my older videos, you won't see me do this step. And really because a lot of the paints say that they don't need to be sealed, but I learned over time that even when they say that, you're better off to go ahead and seal them. So once this is done, you want to let this dry at least an hour before you start trying to manipulate the pieces. I do find that it dries pretty quickly though, so it's not something that you have to leave overnight, but a minimum of an hour. Make sure the paint is no longer tacky, and then of course you can go ahead and do whatever you want with the piece after that. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to start building the decorative tray that I want to go with the set. Now, if you're new to the channel, one of the things I love doing is making decorative trays, perfume trays, whatever you want to call them. I make round ones. I make them out of plexiglass. I use mirrors. I do different things. But I really love these little oval trays. I think they look beautiful with the sets, and they look nice on a dresser. And I've just come up with a lot of different uses for them. I even use them in tablescapes on my Tablescapes and Décor channel. And what I've done here is you can buy these oval shaped mirrors. They come 4 in a pack. I actually get them from eFavorMart. And as an eFavorMart affiliate, if you use the link in the description box to order your mirrors, that does really help my channel. But I get them and they're very inexpensive. So like I said, they come 4 in a pack, so you can make a couple of trays. And you'll notice that I'm also putting cardboard, or basically cake board, in between the mirrors. I also like to use a mirror on the top and a mirror on the bottom, because I think it gives the tray a more finished look and it looks good, you know, from either side. Now the cake boards, I use them for strength and also to give the tray whatever thickness I want. Obviously, the more cake boards you use, the thicker the mirror. The fewer you use, the thinner the mirror. It just depends on your taste and what you're looking for. And as you can see, once I trimmed the mirrors down, since these are oval mirrors and I haven't found any oval cake boards, what I did is use 12-inch cake boards, cut them down, and then glued them together in layers, and voila. After they dry, you have a nice tray. Now, you also have to cover the edges, of course, and to do that, I'm just using some what I call regular bling wrap that I've cut down to size. That's a really inexpensive wrap that you can buy in a roll pretty inexpensively, and I'll just use that as my first layer. Of course, I'll add a little more bling once this is done, and basically that's just to cover up the edges and give the tray a finished look. But if you wanted to, you could obviously stop right here and just use this bling wrap or fabric trim. You don't have to do anything more, but you know, I choose to do that. I also usually will put legs on my tray. Now for legs, I use crystal knobs. You can buy them from Home Goods. You can buy them on Amazon. I do sell these in my Amazon shop as well, and I do have a link to the Amazon shop in the description box. But they're inexpensive. You can get anywhere from 4 to 16 of them in a pack, and they're basically just dresser knobs that I repurpose and I use as tray legs. And you'll also see a little later on that I use them for decorative knobs. And if you love glam or just, you know, love crystal, they look beautiful. So once I get them in position, I'm going to glue them on. Now, up till now, I've been using mostly my E6000 quick hold glue that I really love. That's my favorite brand. Now I've switched to one that's a little more, you know, it dries fast, but it has a little bit stronger hold. And this is the regular E6000, but it's the kind that you would use on jewelry. So you'll see me just applying that glue. And then once these legs are set, then I'll go ahead and add a couple of more embellishments to the decorative tray. So I wanted the tray to have a gold and silver look, sort of like the pieces will have when they're done. So what I'm doing is just using that Wayla or Wayla ribbon. Not quite sure how they pronounce it. Again, really inexpensive. I think it's 2 something, and you get maybe 10 yards in a pack. I found it to be very durable. I've used it in a lot of different DIYs. But there you see me just applying some glue, and I ended up layering 2 strips because the thickness of the tray was a little bit too thick for just 1 strip to cover up that bling wrap that I put on, again, just as a foundation to kind of cover the sides of the tray, so that to make sure that the cardboard doesn't show through. So now once those ribbons dried, again, I wanted a gold and silver, so I'm adding a little bit of silver closed chain wrap. I was going to do gold, but I decided I wanted the contrast, so I'm adding silver. And then I'll also add one of the little brooches that I'm going to be using to decorate the other pieces, excuse me, as well. So once that's done, I'll move on to the tray and go back to adding a little bit more embellishment for the other pieces. Okay, so now I'm going to move on and add just a little embellishment to each of the pieces. Now, you know, the thing about using the two-tone paint method, I think if I had wanted to, I don't think I really had to do anything else to these pieces. I think the color by itself would have been just fine. So if you want to do a DIY like this, and all you want to do is paint those pieces, maybe create some lids and make yourself a decorative tray, I think it would be absolutely fine. But of course, my channel, I like to do a little bit more. Now, initially, I was going to use some silver trim in this application, but then decided that I would let the champagne paint be the antique silver in the piece, and that I would add gold embellishments to kind of bring out the gold trim that I had already painted on the pieces. So that's basically what you'll see me doing. I'll also add the brooches. Now, I did change those brooches a little bit. When they came, and if you were to go and buy them, you'll see that they actually come with a little black bead on the end that kind of holds them together, and that did not match what I wanted. So I actually replaced those black beads with some little rhinestones, just so that they would better match my set. Now, unfortunately, I thought I filmed that for you and I didn't, but maybe in another video I'll show you what I did. But basically, I just used those jewelry tools that you see over there with the green handle to take the pieces apart. And once I did that, I strung them back together and added the little rhinestones on each end. That way it would give the piece the look that I wanted. So that's how the Dollar Tree container turned out. I really like it. And this is a closer look, and you'll kind of see how it turned out. But you know what? I like it, and I hope you do too. So I'm going to stop talking for a little bit while you watch me add embellishment to the rest of the pieces, and I'll be back when we get to another part of the DIY. Okay, so before we get to the final reveal, I always love to make, and I always try to make lids for my pieces. And if you're new to the channel, the reason I do that is I try to create decor that I can use in different ways, like storage pieces and things like that. So in order to do that, I typically have to make lids. Now, if you follow the channel, you've seen me do this tons of different ways, from using pieces of wood to mirrors. One of my more favorite ways to make lids lately has been using these acrylic discs. Again, these are things that you can find in my Amazon shop, or you can just find them on Amazon. And I love these particular brands that have the little tabs on them, because it makes it a lot easier to use them in this way. And here you see I'm just adding a little bit of the gold ribbon to each of the acrylic discs. And then once I do that, I'll go ahead and pull off the acrylic that is protecting the outer material rather, that's protecting the acrylic. And when I first started making these, I didn't do that, and I would always get glue all over these acrylic discs, and they're very hard to clean. So I learned to not do that, and you'll notice that basically I glue on whatever trim or accent that I want to glue on, let it dry for a little bit. Then I use the pull tabs, as you'll see here in a second or two, to pull off the protective outer wrapping, and then I can go ahead and glue on my crystal knobs, and that's it. So again, I'll let you watch me finish these up, and when I'm done with this, it'll be time for the final reveal. All right, this is how the mirror turned out. I like it, and I hope you do too. Now let's take a look also at the entire set together with the mirror. You know what? I really like it. I hope that you like it too. And I'd love to hear, if you like it, number one, if you would make this set for yourself, or if you would make it and give it away. And if there's anything you would do differently if you did make it. So again, I like the simplicity of it. I think the two-tone is really great. I'm still torn about whether I'm going to keep it or give it away. I may keep it because I do have a lot of gold and silver in my home. But overall, I do like how the set turned out. So again, I want to thank you first of all for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed, I hope that you'll decide to do that. If you like this type of video and this type of DIY, please go visit my other channels too. And I also want to wish all of you a wonderful, wonderful 2025. And to all of you that have stuck with me, even though I haven't been able to make as many videos as I would like, those of you that have stayed with me and followed me, I really appreciate it. And again, like I say at the end of every video, I can't wait to see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day or night. Bye-bye.